Hi, everybody. It's your old pal, Uncle Hondo from Sports Illustrated. I'm your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer. It's time now for the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. Going to be doing a ton of your emails today, a bunch of them. Good Friday to you. Literally, Good Friday as we head into Easter weekend, which is, if you're a person of faith, there is absolutely no bigger time of celebration than this weekend and what this weekend means to all of us. And I just want to quickly take a moment and for all of you, thank you for being here on Good Friday. And it's a good day for those of us who people of faith, and it means the world. It's not the most important date because a lot of people have been crucified and died. But what makes Jesus special is he's the one who lived. And so, as a Christian who's far from perfect, man, I'm a grace addict. I just want to thank the Lord that he thought I was worth dying for. And he thought the same of you. But Good Friday without Easter is just another day. So, again, welcome to this great weekend. Let's get right into our emails. We got a ton of them. Excuse me, got a little bit of a frog in my throat. Adjusting from the weather to Tampa back here. But let's get going. The first one comes to us from Steve Hawkins. It says, "Hi, Hondo. I agree with you that the NFL is going too far in rules limiting how the defense can tackle. I think that one rule they could change that would impact the offensive player would be not allowing an offensive player with the ball to stiff arm a defender in the head helmet area. I would like your thoughts on making a stiff arm to the head area a penalty. Thank you for the work that you do in giving Raider Nation information on our team. Sincerely, Steve Hopkins." Well, first of all, Steve, I went to college, went to high school, and graduated with a buddy named Steve Hopkins. I wonder if you're the same guy. If you are, make sure you email me and tell me. If not, no big deal. But here's the problem. I think that they're making up so many rules that we're dangerously getting to the place where the NFL is going to be a product that people don't like. The NBA at its highest was in that bad boy era. You had Magic, you had Bird, you had the bad boy Pistons, you had Jordan coming up when the game was a lot more physical. The Knicks, you may remember with Pat Riley, was very physical. I learned at the NFL owners meetings how poor the ratings are for the NBA. Very, very poor. Terrible, in fact. I addressed on yesterday's podcast about how them doing games on Sunday is literally flexing their muscle, telling the NBA, sit down, just sit down. The big dog is here, NFL. I don't want any more rules. In fact, I think there are too many. I like the stiff arm. Now, where I think Steve's coming from this, if you guys didn't see the podcast previous, is I had an NFL player say to me, all the rules are about us defenders. Pretty soon you're going to get to games that are 69-67. And it's going to affect our pay as defensive players because we're not able to stop anything. So I think just adding a rule, Steve, to the offense, so you can say, well, look, here's some rules to the offense, and I know that's not what you're implying, to me is the wrong thing. It's like every time there seems to be a crisis in America, everyone says we need more laws. America doesn't need more laws. We need more enforcement of laws. We need to be teaching people that laws, if you break a law, there's a consequence. I don't think the answer to too many rules is adding more. I think it's going through strategically eliminating a lot of them and then really enforcing the ones that you have. So, no, I don't want to add it. I mean, I'm old, Steve, and I've seen a lot of really good plays where guys, I remember Barry Sanders, and I mean, he used to be, his stiff arms were legendary. Earl Campbell. I mean, there were so many great stiff arms. Bo Jackson was so strong. He could just push guys away. So, no, I don't want to see that. I don't think the answer to too many rules is adding more. But I appreciate your email. Thanks a lot, Steve. Next comes to us from Brett A. Brett says, "Hey, Hondo, what differences have you seen in the 5 years you covered the Raiders that make you think this draft will be successful? Does a new regime bring in their own scouts? Thanks for the info. I've turned my brother and nephew onto the podcast." Brett A. First of all, Brett, great question. Now, if y'all have been watching this for long, I told you how when Dave Ziegler got here, the Raiders scouting department, all of it was horrible. I was told by people in the know that the Raiders were considered to have one of the three worst scouting departments in all of the National Football League. Dave Ziegler so entrusted Champ Kelly that he put Champ in charge of revamping all of it. And I can tell you that Tom Telesco, I believe, has been surprised at how good the Raiders scouting department is. Around the league, it is unanimously lauded now as one of the very best. So I am sure that you'll see Tom Telesco add some guys whose opinion he respects. That's normal. But they're riding this year with the team that Champ put together, and they very much like it. So there you go. That encourages me. Plus, I don't think the Raiders were bad drafters. We're terrible, horrible drafters. The last 2 years at all. So I think the Raiders are going the absolute right direction. That's from Brett A. Thanks, Brett. Next comes some Clay U. Hi, Unc. Care to share any of your personal favorite NFL lore, favorite era or team, favorite player or position, favorite Raider or Raider moment, white jerseys or black? I appreciate you grinding for us. Favorite era would certainly be the late 70s to the late 80s. By far my favorite era of NFL football. By far. Favorite Raider? I got two of them. Jim Otto. My dad loved Jim Otto. Loved him. Did not like him. Used to call him the toughest guy, all of that. In fact, when I got the opportunity to interview Jim Otto, I said to him, well, first of all, I told him, I called him Mr. Otto because was my dad's hero. So my dad loved you. I'm going to give you all that respect. So Jim Otto, because my dad really liked him. Matt Millen is my favorite Raider, though, because of our personal friendship. I just genuinely love Matt as my own brother. And I tell him every time I see him and every time I talk to him, every day I get to talk to Matt Millen is a good day because he's alive. And I love the fact that Matt Millen is not only one of my dearest friends on planet Earth, but he's my Christian brother, and I love him. And I think so incredibly highly of him. I mean, Max Crosby to me is one of the greatest Raiders of all time. I think he'll go down as the best ever. But I've got to meet so many great Raiders, and but again, Jim Otto and Matt Millen to me, and both of them for personal reasons, which is I think probably why you love somebody is for personal reasons. Black or white uniforms. I like the Raiders in black. I like black. I like the black jerseys. I like black pants. I would like black shoes, black socks. Just go all black, just from the socks, the shoes, the tape, black. I just like that. I think it looks cool, but I do think the white looks sharp. Again, yeah, we'll get to that and a question coming up later, but that's it. And then you asked favorite Raider moment. I was sitting on my couch watching Bo Jackson destroy the Boss with my dad. My greatest moments in my life are with my dad. I have a lot of great moments with my children. But when I'm with my children, I am constantly reminded that I'm not my dad. And so, although I love every second I get to be with my children, I look back at some of my greatest memories in my life, and they're with my father. And I'm coming up on his 10th year anniversary, and so of his death, so I'm mindful of a lot of them. But sitting there, and I just remember my dad telling me, see how tough Bo Jackson is? And I'm like, yes, sir. He goes, and he's not even half as tough as Jim Otto. I mean, my dad liked Bo. That wasn't a slam on Bo at all. It was just that's how much my dad thought of Jim Otto. He's like, oh, Bo Jackson is the running back version of Jim Otto. Jim Otto was so tough. Jim Otto didn't need pads. I mean, you hear in the modern era now, we hear people make a lot of jokes about Chuck Norris. And if you would have known my dad, he could have invented all of those jokes because he sincerely felt that way about Jim Otto. I mean, Jim Otto was, I mean, you would have thought Jim Otto was the Babe Ruth of the NFL. Just Jim Otto, Jim Otto, Jim Otto, Jim Otto, Jim Otto. And it was just so, again, memory, watching that on Monday Night Football with my dad, just great memory. Thank you for asking that, Clay. Next comes to us. This is from, I don't know. Hey, Hondo, Miguel from Zacatecas, Mexico. I know I'm not good with the Spanish language, so I'm sure it's not pronounced Zacatecas, but it's the best this gringo can do for right now. Hi, Hondo, Miguel from Zacatecas, Mexico. Again, you mentioned during the day 3 of the owners meeting that Aiden has been working out his tail this offseason. Are you able to talk one day about what he's doing this offseason to improve his game? I think that if he's able to improve that, we will do much better at QB. First of all, thank you. I love hearing from people in foreign countries. It literally, Raider Nation. The cool part about Raider Nation is it's a group of people, but it's not one gender, it's not one political party, it's not one socioeconomic background, it's not one country, it's not one race. They're from everywhere. So I love to hear from you guys all over the place. Yeah, so he's worked a lot on getting stronger, which will help him win mobility. And he's worked a lot on improving flexibility, which again will help him to be able to rotate right, left, straight, forward, diagonally, whatever. And he's in there just grinding and going at it and getting a lot of passes up with receivers. So yes, he's doing a lot to improve himself. And again, he's not going to be Patrick Mahomes, but he does need to be the Aiden O'Connell who was at Purdue and he did show some mobility. So thank you for that email very, very much. And if you ever email again, pronounce, if I didn't pronounce Zacatecas right, how to pronounce it phonetically, and I'll be glad to do that. This one comes to us from Jason Beaver in Portland, Oregon. Hondo, how capable is special teams coach Tom McMahon to innovate and coach new kickoff scenarios? I think the teams who understand and adapt and evolve in 2024 can create a significant advantage. I agree with you, by the way, Jason, 100% there. I know he has 17 years of experience and 2 assistant coaches to help break down the XFL tape and strategies. But in your estimation, is Coach McMahon imaginative and creative enough? Again, that's Jason Beaver in Portland, Oregon. Yes. Now, I want to explain, Jason, where I'm coming from with this. We're going to learn if he is able to evaluate and strategize. But he's been in it 17 years, and every time something's changed, he's been able to adapt. So we don't know which of the 32 special teams coaches is going to adapt the best to the addition of the XFL kickoff rules. We don't know. But if you're going on past performance being indicative of future performance, then I think you have every reason to be encouraged by Tom. He's very good. He's very well respected. And I think there's a very good chance that he'll do well. But only time will tell. But again, I like past performance as an indicative to future performance. And I think if you're looking at it that way, he's got a good shot. All right. Excuse me. Got a frog in my throat. So hopefully drinking that glass of water is going to help. Next. Hi, Hondo. I am Alessandro Cavalli. Alessandro Cavalli from Italy. Alessandro, if I pronounced Cavalli wrong, please correct me. Everybody is talking about our great defensive line and its members. What about Byron Young? How's he progressing? What is his status in the unit? Thank you for your for your priceless work. Greetings from Italy. What a great email, Alessandro. Thank you for reaching out from Italy. This is going to be interesting to me. I was very high on Young coming out of Alabama. I think he showed some really good flashes. And then I think he struggled with confidence a little bit. So, Alessandro, here is what I'm going to say. He's a hardworking kid and he's a good kid. So, no issues about him trying to get better. There's no his lack of success had nothing to do with character or effort. I think he just struggled with self-confidence because he was at Alabama where he was a dog, to quote Pat McAfee. And I think it was just an adjustment to the NFL level. In fact, you may remember I have said this multiple times. I don't remember the last time, but I talked about the step from high school to college is huge. But the step from college to the pros is the Grand Canyon. And I just think that's where he's at right now. I'm going to be watching him closely in OTAs and minicamp and bringing you updates on him. In fact, I can't wait to talk to Rob Leonard, the defensive line coach, about him. So good stuff there from you, Alessandro. And again, he is top of mind, and we're going to keep our mind right on him, buddy. Next one says, love your content, Hondo. My question is, why are the Raiders so adverse to drafting a quarterback in round one? The club has gone longer than any other AFC team without picking a quarterback in the first round from 2007. Most people agree that the NFL QB position is the most difficult team position to play in sports. I agree with that. It seems inevitable. Premier reports that we're picking quarterback DT, and I wouldn't say DT, but I would say DL, or offensive line at 13. I guess the Raiders really don't value the position of QB as much as our other teams and prefer defensive picks. That was my concern I had with AP being named head coach, a tendency to just load up defensively and go with a bottom third QB to run the offense. Your thoughts are greatly appreciated. Thank you, Stephen M. in Austin, Texas. Now, Stephen, I'm going to take umbrage with a couple of questions. Couple of your statements, but I'm not attacking you personally. But I think you take liberty here that borderlines a little bit on a cheap shot. And I don't think that was your intent, by the way. I don't think that was your intent. That's why I read your email. But you said in here, why are the Raiders so adverse to drafting a QB in round one? Tell me how you know that. Because I don't know that, and I cover this team every day. I think they're adverse to overpaying. I think they're adverse to going and getting a guy you're not 100% sold on. I don't think that's adverse to picking a quarterback. I think that's intelligence. I told you before the NFL Combine, if they wanted to go up to the Bears, which is where you had to go to know what quarterback you were going to get, because Washington wasn't moving. Then it was take 3 1s and 3 2s. Unless you know that guy and you're 100% convinced he's Peyton Manning, that is a stupid move. Stupid. And the Raiders aren't led by people who are stupid. Plus, what does it gain to bring that guy in if you're going to be crippled from getting the pieces to go around him? Now, I think the Raiders had a lot of pieces on offense. I think they had a lot of pieces on defense. I think there were some free agents they could have signed as well as draft picks. I don't think they were convinced, though, there's one guy up there that's worth that. Again, I don't think they're adverse to the pick. And you're also taking out a lot of teams who have not had to trade up to go get a guy. That's a big deal too. Is usually you have a bad year, you end up picking top 3 or 4 or 5, and then bam, you're able to get a guy. And then you drop down because you got a good quarterback. I don't think they're adverse to it in the least bit. I think they're wise to how you build a good team. I mean, let's go back. None of us argue that Tom Brady is the best quarterback in NFL history. And when he had great weapons and probably the best team going into the Super Bowl, the team that most people said probably the best team in NFL history, he ran into a New York Giants team that beat him with the best defensive line probably or close to it in NFL history. So I don't think they're adverse to doing it. I think they're intelligent in how to do it, my friend. And I'd go back and say to you, because you made a comment in here, you said here, why are the Raiders so adverse to drafting a QB in round 1? They're not. The club has gone longer than any other AFC team without picking a quarterback. Okay, great. And how many of them have gone to Super Bowls? See, it's a lot of people. And again, I want you to know the tone of your email was really good. I didn't take it as you being a jerk or taking shots. So I'm asking you to please hear my heart. I'm not attacking you. But a lot of teams have taken quarterbacks and not gotten to Super Bowls. 60% of the quarterbacks picked in the first round fail. So, A, you got to be able to identify this guy is worth that risk. We identify, okay, this is that guy. He's that guy. Okay. Now, how do I get there? So all of a sudden now, the draft's over. The Bears get rid of Justin Fields. So 1 and 2 and probably 3 are not moving. So to trade, you got to have a trade partner. And everyone acts like trading up and getting somebody is the panacea to go into Super Bowls. I mean, look at the Bulls. I think Justin Herbert's a good quarterback. I don't think he's got it all. I don't even think he's in the top 8. I've shared with you before, had an NFL general manager tell me there are 8 teams in the NFL that are convinced they have a quarterback that can win them a Super Bowl. Then there are 8 teams that think they might have that quarterback, and 16 teams that know they don't. I think Justin Herbert is in that, a guy you hope can get you there. So when you say everybody else is picking him, yeah, but everybody else ain't winning Super Bowls either. And then you said this, though, and I want to address this. Excuse me, I'm looking for it, Stephen. Give me a second here, brother. I guess the Raiders don't really value the position of quarterback as much as other teams and prefer defensive picks. Well, again, I don't know how you make that leap. Are you saying they don't value the quarterback more than the Bears, the Commanders, or the Patriots? Or is it the fact that those 3 are there so they don't have to trade? And how can you say they won't value it if the guy they think is in the top 3 and they can't go get him because nobody wants to trade? It's like if I were to say, well, I guess I love my wife a lot more than Steven. I love my wife Shannon a lot more than Steven. Well, she's not your wife. That would be unfair to you. Or if I said, man, I guess Andy Reid values quarterbacks a lot, values Patrick Mahomes a lot more than AP. I think AP would give up a lot for Patrick Mahomes. But Andy don't want to get rid of him. I mean, I just think there's a lot of supposition in your email. And I understand it. I understand it. But sometimes, and I'm going to blame the media here, Steve, the media builds up, oh, got to go up and get it. I mean, I saw someone the other day at the owners' meeting, a national NFL bot. Well, the Raiders got to go up and get somebody if they want to be taken seriously. They don't. They just whooped the world champion's ass on Christmas Day in Arrowhead Stadium with Taylor Swift and the whole country watching. The Kansas City Chiefs take them seriously. Guess what? The media guy isn't getting fired if they go up and get one of 60% of guys who are going to fail. The media guy isn't going to get fired if they go get a guy but give up so much that the franchise stinks. I understand when you hear all that, that becomes the narrative. But this is where, Stephen, and your email was very good and very well written. And this is why I'm reading it, because you did not come off as anything insincere. But this is where sometimes you got to back up and understand, okay, this is where I know people get irritated with me. A lot of media's job is to create hype so you keep coming back. Okay, that's not how I operate. I'm going to give you the information. The Raiders absolutely value the quarterback position more than any other position on the football field, as do all of the good teams. They also know, hey, you can't just win with a quarterback. Go ask Dan Marino about that. And so they value it. But they also understand, okay, I value it. But I also have to be able to pay the collateral to get up there. And is there a guy there that we're willing to risk everything on because we believe in him? Because if not, the price is too high. Price is way too high. I remember when Zach Wilson was coming out and everyone was talking about him. And there was a lot of talk. Remember when Trey Lance came out? A lot of talk about him. Both guys. I remember Raider fans. We got to go up and get Trey Lance. I remember Raider fans. We got to go get Zach Wilson. You glad you didn't know? I remember people telling me, Derek Carr sucks. Zach Wilson's what we need. He's mobile. Okay. Trey Lance, he's the next Patrick Mahomes. We got to dump Derek. We got to go get Patrick Mahomes. Okay. And this isn't a Derek Carr discussion, but that was the narrative at the time because people wanted to move on from Derek. We got to get rid of Aiden. We got to go get whoever. Okay. Okay. I hear you. My job's not to hype you up so you keep click, 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 click. My job is every day to just bring you quality information. And so I think they value quarterback more than any position, but they also understand what's the value. What's the value? Is it worth it? Years ago, I was in New York City, and I had a friend who a lot of you didn't know who he was, who took me out to eat to this restaurant, and I had a $290 hamburger. Now, I would never spend $290 on a hamburger, but my buddy did. He expensed it. Okay? It was a good hamburger. Not as good as In-N-Out. Not as good as Fat Boy. Not as good as Shake Shack. Wasn't as good as a Wendy's double with everything and double cheese. Wasn't as good as a Whopper with extra cheese and extra onion. All of them are beef. Value. Was it a good burger? Uh-huh. Near worth what they paid for it. You were paying for where you went to eat, which I could care less. Do I strike you as a guy? I didn't get this figure being careful where I eat. Value. I think the good teams understand. Why did the Chiefs, and listen, I understand this is a Raiders podcast and everybody hates the Chiefs and gets mad when I mention it, but why did the Chiefs let Tyreek Hill go? Because they understood he's expensive and we want to make sure we keep at the other positions. They understood value. Why'd they pay Chris Jones and let other guys go? Because they get it. They understand it. Again, I reiterate to you, quarterback is their most important position and they value it. But remember Trey Lance. Remember Zach Wilson. Remember the people that Raiders were all, got to have this guy, got to have this guy. Just remember that. Yes, it's understanding a lot of teams have picked quarterbacks. You're right. But a lot of teams have been super bad, so they were high enough to do it. Not all. And the Raiders haven't been super bad. They've just been mediocre, stuck in Mediocreville. And now they got a chance. And I'm not so sure that they won't move up. What if a guy slips? Not saying they won't. But I think they're being smart. They understand it is valuable, but not the most valuable. And I'm going to put it to you in this context. I knew a man who was very, very wealthy, and he used to pay any of his health needs, he would just pay cash. And so his son got cancer, and he had a policy that covered tragedies like that, but he had to pay a ton of money out of pocket. And he had a beautiful car, a beautiful, beautiful car collector that he paid a lot of money for. And it was worth a lot of money. But his son needed surgery. And so he had to sell that car. And he sold it for cheaper than what it probably was worth had he had time to auction it and all that kind of stuff. But its value of the car was no longer what he deemed it as based on what he needed. And so the Raiders have looked at it. Quarterback's the number one position. And I will tell you, if they don't go quarterback early in this draft, and we don't see major progression next year at the quarterback position, I think they will be all in, trying to do whatever they have to do with either a free agent or a draft pick next year in 2025. But there is an element of it's super value. We're not against it, but we have to keep in the fact a quarterback without the proper weapons, you have Dan Marino, who I think is probably, in my opinion, one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play in the NFL, but was on a franchise that didn't put enough around him. And Antonio Pierce saw what a good defense did to the best quarterback in NFL history with an offense that could manage and do what they needed to do. If the Raiders got a shot to go nab that guy, they're going to take it. But if not, they're going to follow that pattern. I don't think it's not valuing quarterback. I think it's being wise. And I want to reiterate, I think you had a good email. And I'm not attacking you. I'm addressing the issue because I get a lot of emails that are similar, and a lot of them were attacking. And I don't think that you were at all. So I appreciate you very much. Thank you again. That's Stephen in Austin, Texas. Next comes to us from Christopher Caldwell. Hondo, first of all, I love listening to you every day. You said the Raiders have a superstar player they are interested in. I know you can't say who, but you can at least say what the position they play. Thank you and have a great day. I could. There's a reason I haven't. Giving you plenty of hints, though. Let's keep going. This comes from Dave Cornell in Vacaville, California. I understand AOC was assigned his number 4 by McDaniels, I assume. Possibly a dig at Carr. Do you think it would be good idea for AOC to change his number or something he wants and end any association with the past? No, I have addressed this. You can go back and find it in a previous podcast where I talked about Dave Ziegler, Josh McDaniels in that era. I've already addressed it. There was a limited number of numbers available. Derek wanted to go. Derek was gone. I think that Dave and Josh way underestimated the volatility with that number. I don't, because when Derek left, they didn't hate him. He didn't hate them. Derek had chose to move on. I know they did not expect any kind of a backlash, and it was not a dig at all. Do I think it was a mistake by them? Yes. But I think it was a mistake of not reading the room. It wasn't a mistake of a dig. So I would be like, why? Why change it? Who cares? I'm not superstitious. I don't think there's anything to be superstitious above. He's fine with the number. Keep rolling with it. Next one, Hondo. Thank you for your recent defense of AOC with other national media. You set them straight. All I hear is disrespect. Since he wasn't the big shiny object, all he gets is shade, pure ignorance. But those of us in the know seeing him differently. We've all heard of Penix and Nix as later picks for the Raiders might make to fill the QB room. AP likes dogs who have persevered through adversity. Thanks for the heads up. Super reporting on the Raiders. God bless Kurt Albers in Victor, New York. He does like dogs. In fact, if you didn't watch the video I put up with him from the owners meeting, I suggest that you do, where he was super good talking about liking guys who remind him of him. The next sport comes to us from Craig W. It says, Hondo, hi from Bonnie, Scotland. I have enjoyed your content ever since you started covering our beloved team. I hope you continue to do so for many more years. I respect your opinions and insights, and your family stories make me smile. My questions relate to the team uniform updates. I would imagine that this year several NFL teams will change or update their team uniforms. Can you talk about this process, please? And if you know if the teams have any say in changes that are made, suggested, or if it's 100% on the kit manufacturers only. In my opinion, I'm glad the Raiders have only made some minor changes. I would possibly like to see black face masks on their helmets, but that's the only thing I would ever change. Would you change anything about our current uniform or our iconic uniform? Excuse me. Thank you for all you do for Raider Nation. We appreciate you. Kindest regard, Craig W. Again, he's from Bonnie, Scotland. I love the idea of a black face mask, but I also like the gray too. I just think black, silver and black, gray and black. This looks cool. I do like the white uniforms, not denying it, but black. Can you imagine a black helmet with the logo, a black face mask, black jersey, black shirt, black pants, black socks, black shoes, black tape? I don't care about uniforms, but I think that'd be cool. All right, let's keep going. George Collard from NorCal. Hondo, I am a retired detective who spent a career snooping into lives, building profiles. My question is on scouting. Why have some been so successful in fettering out gold and diamonds deep into the draft? What techniques do they use to discover the nuggets? I'd love to have you do a full feature broadcast article following the path of a premier deep dive scouter. Keep up the good work. Sincerely, George Collard, and NorCal. First, George, thanks for your service. Second of all, I talked with a couple of scouts about your text, even sent it, I mean your email, even sent it to them. And I don't think anybody right now would give up the secrets, but there are teams that have them, and there's a couple of them. First of all, I know that a lot of teams that are the best drafters spend the most time looking at things others don't. Bill Belichick used to look at not targets on wide receivers, but how many catchable balls. How many catchable balls did they go up and get? With quarterbacks, how many passes that weren't completed were drops that should have been caught? I know teams that they pay local bars in college towns to bring them information about the character. I know one team that selected a quarterback, and I don't think they would mind me telling it, but I'm not going to say who just to protect the team. And one of the things they loved about him is when they went back to the kid's high school to check on the kid, and they found out how there was a Down syndrome boy that he ate lunch with every day. And he would take and give part of his lunch to the kid who had Down syndrome. And and then as they started digging, they found that when he went to college, he worked with a lot of Down syndrome kids because he just had a heart for it. It was something that nobody knew. And it was a really cool story. And that guy turned out to be a diamond in the rough. Does that mean everybody that works with Down syndrome kids? No, but it's learning about the character, work ethic. I know a guy that a lot of teams were very high on, and a team did their research on him and found out some really tough issues. Found out that his offensive line did not like him. Found out that he would, let's just say, involve himself in some activities that changed him. Then there was a kid that came from a very wealthy family and had everything given to him, trainers, he had a dietitian, everything. And they come out of high school as a freshman, and schools were looking at him and another kid. Well, this other kid was really super raw, but he came from an inner city school. He did not have no money financially. His mom worked 2 jobs. And the kid that had the dietitian and all this, they both go on to college. And in the process, they found out that he used to make fun of this kid at quarterback camps. Hey, how come you don't go all the camps? Well, I can't afford it. Must be tough with a family that's broke. It's why I'm going to be so much farther ahead of you. And they ended up going with the kid that came from the other family. And the other guy got picked a lot higher. Turned out to be a failure. The teams that find the diamonds are the ones that go learn the kid, find out about work ethic. I knew a guy that played in the league a long time who came from a super wealthy family. And so one of the things they learned is, like, his family would always take his teammates with him on spring break who didn't have money, would bring them home for Christmas, and his parents would buy these kids on his college team who didn't have a lot of money, who couldn't afford to go home, presents. And so they knew money wasn't going to change him, wasn't going to make him be a jerk to his teammates because he had money. Those types of things. That's the stuff that they go and look at. And George, I hope that gives you a little bit of an insight, learning about people. Next one comes to us. When Mark Davis took over the team back in 2012, he had little football knowledge on how to run the team. So he hired Reggie McKenzie to do the work. Now that Mark has more experience, does he have input on whatsoever on free agents and draft prospects? Or that falls 100% on AP and Telesco. Gracias, Eduardo Diaz, Panama, Central America. P.S. A group of 15 to 20 Raiders from Panama always fly up to one game every year. Hope to meet you and Dexter and at a tailgate party. I'd love to meet you. We got to plan it, but if we can plan it, I'd love to meet you, and we'll do that for sure, Eduardo. First of all, Mark has all the input he wants. He's the owner. I I know Mark was very critical in why Hunter Renfroe got re-signed. I know Mark has been very influential, probably in the decision of moving on from Derek Carr. I would say he exercised input, but he's talked to all the time. He knows what's going on. His input is absolutely given and received. And quite frankly, AP and Tom Telesco have a really solid relationship with him. I think Josh McDaniels was afraid of him. Dave Ziegler was not, but I think Josh McDaniels was. I don't know if that's fair to say. I think he was afraid of Mark Davis. I've said before, and many people told me this, they felt like he was afraid of getting fired almost from the moment he got hired. So I think that there was a little bit more tension in his relationship with Mark Davis, but that's not that way with AP or with Tom Telesco. But thank you again. This was Eduardo Diaz from Panama, Central America. Panama. Love to meet you. Next, Uncle Hondo, or excuse me, Uncle H Man. I love you and all you do. I'm from Mexico. And in your last podcast, you read from someone and they called you Mijo. Now he's spelling it M-E-H-O-E. You called it my Joe. I remember that. It was a term of endearment, bro, but we love you. No harm. You love us. We love you and enjoy that you don't get it all, but try. Hope to meet you at a tailgate in Dexter and Shannon. And it's from, now he spelt it phonetically. I would have called it Javi G, but he spells it phonetically. Thank you. It's Javi. So Javi G, thank you for the email from Mexico. Next one comes to us is, hi Hondo, it's Rodney Laborde from Emporium, Pennsylvania. First off, thank you for all your great work covering the Raiders. The nation appreciates it. Do you think we should approach Devonte Adams and ask him, only because of our unusual quarterback situation, would you rather have us trade you to the Jets and give you a chance to win another championship with your old quarterback Aaron Rodgers, or stay with the Raiders? I think approaching it this way shows that we want to do the best thing for him. And if we wanted to go to the Jets, that would give us the number 9 and 13 in the draft and enough ammunition to go up to 3 with a little more of draft competition, of course. Then we would be in great shape to get a franchise quarterback. Thank you, my friend. Rodney? AP has made it very clear. I mean, not AP, Devonte, excuse me. He wants to be a Raider. He believes in Aiden O'Connell. And this franchise is not rebuilding. I said before, if you're rebuilding, you got to trade Devonte. He's on the top end of his career. I don't think he's going on the downward side, but he's got a lot of years left than he has it behind him. Max Crosby hasn't even reached his full. If you're rebuilding, you trade Devonte. They're not. They're not. And he believes in Aiden. So there's no conversation to be had. But I appreciate your email. And you know what? If you're rebuilding and you could have done that, bingo, do it. Agreed. But that's not where they're at right now. Appreciate your email, though. Thanks, everybody. Remember, email me, Spartan Nation Mail, MAIL, at yahoo.com. Put in the subject line, Raiders Q&A. Only email me once. Don't send a ton of emails. One a week. I don't want you to get flagged for being a spammer and just get out of there. And only one. And remember, don't send it from the same email, or 3 different emails. If it's one URL, I don't know how they do it. I'm not a tech guy, but they know, and just gets wiped away. I want to hear from you. Love to hear from you. Get your emails in. Again, have a blessed Easter. Great Good Friday to you. We'll see you again tomorrow, but thanks everybody for joining us. We'll talk to you real soon. Again, from all of us to all of you, happy Good Friday. God bless you. Follow me on IG at Hondo SR, on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Hondo Carpenter. Don't forget the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast on YouTube, as well as on Spotify and on Apple, everywhere you get your audio, and si.com/NFL/Raiders. God bless you, everybody.